There's some millennials that are drooling on their arm right now where they fell asleep. Hey, it's BrickTsar and I'm old. If you're old like me, you've been collecting Lego from a long time ago. And a lot of the bricks and the elements in those old sets are different than the bricks they make today. Does it really matter when you're trying to complete an old set? I've been working on some old ones for this year to complete. I got one that goes all the way back to the 60s. Actually, I got a couple of them that go back to the 60s that I'm working on piecing together. So Mardi Gras Man 23 asked a BrickTsar Answer Thingy question in a video that he just posted. I'll put a link to his video in the card and in the description below. He had one of those finds that I find amazing where you're at a thrift store or Goodwill or a yard sale and it's a collection of random Lego pieces, but if you know what you're looking for, it can be actually gold. Well, not literal gold. So anyway, he was showing the lot that he found, and I recognized right away some of the pieces from the sets that they went to. And he went through and pieced them together, and he actually pieced together a lot of these vintage sets from the 70s. And he noticed that some of the elements are different from elements today. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, is the elements and how you can tell the general era. Now, I'm not going to get as specific as some may, and we'll talk about that as we go through looking at these pieces. So if it's important to you that when you're acquiring or piecing together an old Lego set, if it's important to you that those pieces be actually from that general era, like if they're from the 70s or the 80s or the 60s, I'm going to show you some things that you can look for. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the differences in the Lego parts that Mardi Gras Man mentioned in his video, and got some random things here. So I may not cover everything, and I'm definitely not going to be covering all the different possibilities for different Lego elements. We're just going to give you a general idea where some of these might fit. So we have a mixture here of some modern and some really old and in between bricks. So we got something from most of the eras. I will say this, that there's like three general eras from basically, well, after 1958. I guess there's four. There's the era of Lego bricks up until 1958. Then there's from 58 to around 1970. And then there's from 70 to 79, and then 80 and up. But with the 80s, even some of the early 80s stuff, you can, if you really are good, you can tell that they're different from modern stuff. But let's start with the Waffle Plate. Do you know which one of these is the Waffle Plate? Can you tell which one is the Waffle Plate? Is that one. It's got a waffle bottom as opposed to the tube bottom, like that one. And so this plate here was produced until I think around 1971. 71 is when they started making a lot more changes with the structure of the molds. So if you have a waffle bottom plate, it is definitely going to be from 71 or before. And I think there's even some of these that are cellulose acetate. And that's another thing that we could have another whole video on. But cellulose acetate is usually really easy to tell apart from ABS plastic. The next thing here we're going to talk about is some of the 1x-Bricks. And there's some key things that you'll note on 1x-Bricks. It could be, one thing I should mention, if you ever see the old logo, right away you know that's an old piece. So most of the bricks in this video will have the modern logo. Anyway, so these 1x8s, and I was actually looking for another one. I couldn't find it for the example here. But this is without the tubes. It does have the cross supports. But this one I think is actually a cellulose acetate. I was looking for an ABS plastic one. And so maybe this white one, I think that's regular. It's hard to tell sometimes with white. But so those have no bottom tubes, but these do, and little cross support. So this is the modern brick. So again, this is going to be from that same era. I think 69 actually is when the last time they made them like that. But there's actually two different types of these. You have some with the holes in the tubes, and the interesting thing about that is you'll find both of these actually in the same set, even some modern sets. And I don't know if that's depending on where the part is actually manufactured. I've seen modern sets that have both varieties. All right, and here's some more 1x's. We got a Yeah, that's a modern 1x6. And then we have one with holes, one without holes. And I don't think the 1x4 was ever made like these. I don't think it was. I think it's always had a tube. And then you got the 1x2, and then that's the same brick. Oh, this is what we're going to talk about here. So these bricks look identical, except I think there's one thing to tell you that one is older than the other. And I don't know if it's going to show up on here. Yeah, here it is. This is not working. You see the brick on the right has a little pip, P-I-P, pip, and the other one does not have it. So this brick is probably from the 70s. Later, Lego started putting the pip actually on the stud instead of on the side, because you see how it deformed. I used to think I had Lego bricks that had defects where people had scratched them or something, but that's normal. So these are probably from the 70s. Another thing he talked about, Mardi Gras Man, is the difference in the plates. And here's an old plate. They made this one. It says Pat Pending. That's another thing you can use to tell parts from the early 70s. They'll have that Pat Pending, and it has the straight line there instead of the little round. And there's also, these also have the one with the hole. So you start again looking for the side pip. This actually has a side pip on it and the slot, but that was from the early 70s is what you would say with that, and then the other ones are modern ones. All right, and then of course the round, this actually gets you into the, I think the late, actually early, like 1980, 79, 80s, when they started putting the opening here instead of being solid like that. And then some of these actually have the old logo. I only found the new one with the new logo. And it's got the side pip as well. I think I got these in order, pretty close to the order that they would have appeared in real Lego sets. You can see on that stud right there, you can see the pip mark on that stud. It's on this one, it's up there. This is the most modern piece, I know, because it was from a set I recently parted out. So it's got the cross support and the tubes, and it's got, I'm not going to focus in too much, but it's actually got some different numbers on the inside other than the 3001. But let's go back to the oldest one first. This is the oldest one, and this is pre-1958, so it is tubeless. So you always know the 2x4 bricks are before 1958, because they'll, well, first of all, they'll be made out of cellulose acetate and be very shiny and look new, except for the fact that they're warped. And then this is the first version of the tubed brick. And again, cellulose acetate, it's very shiny. And that one actually has a modern, is that the modern logo? I need glasses. So there actually might be another one that has an older logo. Maybe the older logo came later, because this is the old logo. Now this one is ABS plastic. It has the tube, and it's very thick. It says Pat Pending. Here's another one with a newer logo. It says Pat Pending as well. Actually, is this the one with the Pat? Yeah, it does say Pat Pending. It's upside down. And then you get this one that has the Pat Pending marked out. So this will get you, and this will be early 70s. This will be 60s, late 50s, 58 to early 60s, and then before 1958. And so now we're starting to get into some modern ones. And this one has 3001 on it and a number. This one also has 3001 and a different number, and then the newest one. So you start looking for things like side pips, and you know you got something from 80 and above. If there's no side pips on them, they'll be on the studs. And then ones like this one probably, it's hard to tell if that's the side pip or not. There it is. That's what it looks like. So basically, think of it in terms of you got 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and up. And I think this brick here and this one are further apart in age. And if I had a bunch of these and connected them together, you could actually tell the difference. This is probably from the 80s, and this one is from 2018. But to me, as far as building old sets, I think anything from 1980 and up, it pretty much doesn't matter. And like I said, there are people out there that could tell physically and also audibly by listening to them click together or rummage them in your hand. You can tell the difference if you have a group that are all the same. But I just got these all mixed up. I'll never get them back in the right order. But so pretty much, I think any set made after well, at least the mid 80s for sure, you could use bricks from today, and I don't think nobody should really care unless there's another specific piece with a mold, a special piece. But as far as common pieces like these, it's not going to matter. I think the only time this starts to really matter is when you get to that era from the early 70s and before, when there's a significant difference like tubeless, things like that, or waffle bottom, things that are easy to distinguish. But the other things where you got to look like it for the pips, and that's a little, getting really over the top, looking for differences. And I think you'd be hard pressed to know for a fact that you had a brick. If you have a set that was made in 1974 and you had a brick, you would never really be able to prove without a doubt that brick was produced in 1974. It might be 75 or 73 or something like that. So I don't think anybody would be worrying about being that specific. And I'm getting long-winded. There's some millennials that are drooling on their arm right now where they fell asleep. I apologize for that, but I just wanted to answer that question. If you have any more details that you would like to know about different eras, different vintages, or different elements, let me know. I know I covered a lot in this video, but even though I did, it's only the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to put a link in the description to a website or a blog post, basically, where somebody talked about the patent pending differences. And it was if it says patent pending or patent pending marked out or no patent pending at all. And that's another good way of telling if it's from the 60s, 70s, late 70s, and 80s and above. So anyway, I hope that answered your question, Mardi Gras man. I probably lost 5 subscribers over this, but this is the kind of thing that interests me. Tell me what you think. Well, I'm going to go back. I'm still working on putting together the truck. Actually, this piece I took out of here, that goes to the truck, and this piece here I took from the mayor ship. So this is something that actually does matter to me because I'm working on piecing together some things. We have the mayor ship, so that's all early 70s parts. I also am putting together the missing pieces for the Sail and Fly Marina, and then this set is from what did I say, this was from 69, this motorized truck set. But anyway, that's the time that you need to worry about when your brick came out. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. It's BrickTsar. So one of the main things I've been working on this year is to get some sets. No, I really should write a script. Hey, it's BrickTsar, and this. Hey, it's BrickTsar. I don't even know why I say hey